Hopefully my entire system won't die. Okay, cool. So we are local recording. We are not streaming on Twitch. This is just us, so we can say whatever we want and then fix it in post.
So what you're saying is when the ship is like going down, you're going to ask me my consent to actually, get my ass in the,
Oh yeah, I'm gonna
like,
follow protocol.
all right, as long as we understand, I am not going down with the ship.
That's fine. That's fine. That's why we observe protocol and we try to keep things consensual.
But no, Hearn would tell me stories about, some of the managers that he dealt with while I was in L3,
Mm-hmm.
and at times how you guys were dealing with multiple managers on a team who all wanted different
Oh
things.
yeah.
And I'm like, how the fuck do you do that? Especially when some of your managers are obviously way in over their depth and they're just the only thing you're concerned with is being busy because that means they're being productive. Doesn't matter how
Right.
destructive that action is,
Right.
they're still doing something.
It's the appearance of productivity, not the actualness of real productivity or progress or anything that would actually help themselves and people, the company, yada yada yada. You know that pattern.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then it seeing things like that, hearing that from like you and her, and seeing things like that when I the last time I lived in Austin, when I was actually working at the Dell factory, like
Mm-hmm.
actually boxing up computers and
Mm-hmm.
laptops and shipping them out,
Mm-hmm.
and just some of the dumb changes that they would make on a whim.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like I'm sure that the guy who suggested that is just a VP trying to like make his
He's
resume
trying to
look
puff
good.
up his chest and trying to
Yeah,
look like, oh, I'm gonna get those. They'd always call them low hanging fruit, like the easy
yeah.
wins. I hate that mentality. And then again, not to go too much into the capitalism rant, but like you know what I'm gonna say.
No, exactly. That whole I'm going to go for this. Damn the consequences of like
Mm-hmm.
6 months later, because hopefully,
Leroy Jenkins.
yeah, hopefully I'll be at another job or in a different position. And you know what? This isn't my mess. And this
Yeah.
goes back to another point.
Yeah.
No one's ever responsible in America.
Right. You don't have to be
Like
long term because it's not about the relationship; it's about the transaction.
exactly. And
Yeah.
nowhere is this better fucking exemplified than the Jurassic Park with Star Lord with Pratt. And I'll
What
explain
are the
why.
new ones? I haven't seen the new ones yet. I heard about this blue Velociraptor and this so-called relationship he's having with this Dino but I
Well,
have not seen it, so I don't have full context. So please,
okay,
Dino School me.
okay. Well, basically, at the end of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
you know, horrible decisions were made, all in the name of we can't shut down the park or aspects of the park because money will be lost
Because capitalism.
because capitalism.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, the person responsible for those decisions is like, well, what are we going to do now? And I'm like, bitch, your ass is going to be in jail. Somebody is going to be held responsible for
Right?
these. Yeah,
If only. If
but
only.
but not in America. In America,
No.
man, who could have foreseen that this would happen?
Oh my
All the
god.
projections that your analysts came up with,
Yeah.
who knew?
Well,
Everybody that told you it would, you know.
a lack of imagination is often enough of a responsibility shield, or it has been in the past, to allow the great nameless, faceless leadership white guys to get away with it all. And who's left holding the burning dinosaur park?
At that point, everyone's evacuated the burning dinosaur park, so nobody was left holding the burning dinosaur park.
They
Although
just let it burn.
they went back apparently, and I never saw that one because the one that I saw with Pratt, I just went, all right, I'm done. I've gotten the Jurassic Park out of my system. That's all I need to ever see.
You know
You know?
what's interesting is like the earlier Jurassic Parks, the first one in particular. Like even looking back at it now, it holds up surprisingly well.
Oh yeah, the
Man,
idea of oh, this will never go wrong. How could this possibly? Oh Jesus, good God, it's gone wrong. What do we do now? You know?
who could have ever seen this coming? I like that little bit where they go back and forth and talk about like the chaos theory and the applicability of how that's going to play out. And they're like, what was the? I'm gonna have to paraphrase because I don't have it in front of me. But God created man, man created dinosaur, dinosaur ate man, woman inherited the earth,
Yeah.
which I think is fantastic and also super pro feminist. But anywho, yeah, no, that was the 90s, and you could slide little bits of lefty propaganda like that right under people's noses to hide in plain sight. And, you know, you'd have to wait for YouTube before people would actually have rants talking about stuff like that.
Uh, yes, but it's kind of funny after what the video that I watched.
Mm-hmm. Which one?
Hold on, I'm going back.
Oh, dude, I sent you
The
a.
one from Sabrina.
Okay. Well, I made a shareable doc file so we can just put stuff down. So you
Okay.
should have also received that, the Dead Horses Agenda, and we can actively put stuff in here as we're talking, so we can share stuff in context with words and pictures and words.
Gotcha. Well, no, the Sabrina video that you linked me, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, yeah, no, I understand the algorithm because at a certain point, every YouTuber was basically talking about how the algorithm was basically fucking them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you have to wonder though that all these, the left tube, although that's a dumb term,
Yeah.
all of these people are on YouTube basically, trying to point these things out, and you have to wonder really with the algorithms, how many people is it actually reaching? Beyond that, how many new people is this actually fucking reaching?
That's the bigger
Because
question, because it often ends up echo chambering where the people that need to hear these things the most often don't.
exactly.
Yeah.
And you end up with situations where like, well, I just ordered the park to stay open and I just killed thousands of tourists. Oops. you know
Oopsie.
Oopsie, my bad. you know Insurance will cover that. I'm like, well, yes, technically insurance covers it, however it doesn't actually like absolve you of
Right.
like wrongdoing.
Right, right. Active negligence is not its own reward, or it shouldn't be. But in a
Ah,
world with less and less regulations, uh, it de facto becomes rewarding for people to fuck off, not follow rules and regulations, and just let the pintos burn where they may.
oh no, exactly.
Oh,
Because
Ford.
well, Ford, I mean, there are numerous disasters too many to count,
Oh yeah, which is
where
why there's
you
so many great
basically,
podcasts now.
oh yeah, you know,
Like that one you shared with me. That's great. So what was it called? So there's your problem.
yeah. So there's your problem.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
great, where they will point out these things, and the thing is, I mean, at times they're subtle, at times they're not subtle, where they're like, and this happened because someone decided to cut corners. And
Yeah.
this happened because, and then they go into the aftermath of, and not only did these people, suffer horrendous, tragedies,
Mm-hmm.
and then the government came in, along with corporations. And I'm not going to say the government set out to screw them, but the
Right.
government were looking out for the population, they were looking out for the corporations.
Right, and it's the bigger problem. Like my other favorite ROI, regardless of intent, or
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what reasons or enumerations you can set to justify the reasons that went into an outcome, I care more about the outcome than I do about how it's enumerated. especially
Exactly.
especially if the enumeration of what led to that outcome leads to inaction. A lot of the time people will say, hey, this failure happened because this that and the other. You can give me a giant list of all these things, but if all those things don't lead to process improvements, standards, regulations, what that list instead becomes is a list of excuses to justify inaction in the future, which means, hey, this status quo, keep on biting down on it because it's not going to change, even though we have all these things we could have changed. Let's just let it happen again. That's a great idea.
There's part of me, and I've said this to a couple of friends, and I'm like, I know it's not. There's part of me that goes, I know this isn't true.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I really get the impression at times that people really just want the appearance of change,
Oh yeah,
and progress.
they want to wear the
Because
mask.
well, they want to wear the mask, but the other part of it is you can't just go to the government and say these are our grievances, you need to fix them, because the
Mm-hmm.
government will be like, oh, we hear you. Just like any good corporate talk at this
Right,
point,
right, right.
I hear what you're saying, and
It's
that's a
it's
shame.
a reply ping. That's all it is.
You know,
It's just a reply
it's a
ping.
reply.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's exhausting. It's hard work to actually keep going back and keep
Yeah.
going back and keep going back and see
Yeah.
we still haven't fixed it. If I'm not mistaken, Flint still has
Bad
basically
pipes.
poisoned water. Yeah,
Yeah.
bad pipes. And the thing is unfortunately due to our society and social media and having the attention span of a gnat,
Mm-hmm.
um, we're gone. We're past that tragedy. We're on to something new. We're looking
Right.
for a new outrage to get the endorphins going.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. That was another thing too. I don't know if I shot it over to you yet, but Sabrina's take on squelching a lot of the keywords that she followed on Twitter is like it's an example of like the macro problems we have with media in general. You know, we have, and that might be the video that you're talking about as
Yeah,
well.
that is the video.
Okay, so yeah, like trying to tailor things so that you don't end up in these cycles of just rage and despair, because you're doing your due diligence, trying to be a responsible citizen, keeping yourself informed, only to be hit by an onslaught and a deluge of distractionary engagement pieces that are really just clickbait. You know,
No,
as we were talking about before, like all of these things exist to be type 1 interactions instead of letting people take the time, let ideas breathe, and have more of a type 2 interaction.
hmm well, there's, I mean, there's part of me that's obviously it's deliberate because
Oh yeah, it's
they,
deliberate. That's what makes money. Like
well,
going back
no,
to
exactly.
your point about the algorithm, man. Yeah.
Yeah, no. And what I mean by that is like, you should probably continue taking pills. Um, this helps me with my talks. Um, I know it's deliberate on the part of advertising.
Yeah.
Then you get into the tinfoil hat conspiracy theory of like, well, exactly how much are you guys actually against change, and you're doing this just to prevent change?
Right.
You
And
know,
the attribution of it all, and that's why I
uh-huh,
always go back to regardless of intent.
uh-huh.
I'm to the point where I don't care about worrying about the attribution of intent. I'm looking at trying to change outcomes.
No,
Um,
and I totally get that. And yeah, I will admit that there are times where I go, okay, yeah, I do get a little bit lost in the I
right. The
get
minutia
lost
of it.
amongst the trees,
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, um, but you're being thrown all of these messages, and then my question is with the out, like, well, how much is this advertising versus actually controlling the message versus, well, can
Hijacking
I
the
s-
narrative or
yeah,
DDoSing
hijacking the
people's
narrative,
attention to the point where they can no longer focus on real change because they've already been, sugar rushed or depressed down to nothing.
exactly.
Yeah.
Or they're being shown these stupid fucking things that really, like, here's the deal. I'm glad that Jason Momoa was able to buy his wife's original car and fix it up.
Yeah.
That is a great feel good story.
Yeah.
That really should not be on CNN as any one of their fucking
Wait, that
headlines.
was on CNN?
That was on CNN.
So I
I mean,
didn't
it
see
would have been
that on
really great.
CNN. I saw
It,
that on Tumblr for what it's worth, but that also shows like the circles that I still paddle in. Wow, that
you know,
was
it,
on CNN.
like if you went, it wasn't like one of their main headlines, but if you
Yeah,
went
but
to
the
their
fact that that was on
page,
CNN at all,
well,
like,
well, but
wow.
but CNN also got rid of all of their investigative journalists because hiring a bunch of, I say, hiring a
Hmm.
bunch of interns to basically comb the web looking for stories was a lot cheaper. And it fits this whole thing of let's give them a sugar rush and get them on to the next one because
That's
God knows,
engagement. That's
yeah,
engagement. Oh boy.
and
Oh boy.
and
We got to give these Zoomers what they want.
fucking
Fucking
Zoomers.
assholes. God damn,
And I
dude.
mean, it's easy to sit here and label people and say Zoomers, and it's
Right.
not just Zoomers.
Right, right.
There's a
I'm not.
range.
I'm saying that they're treating
And I know.
Zoomers. I'm saying that they're treating Zoomers like an attack surface. They're treating
Oh,
them like a target. They're treating them like an ends to a means, and not like people.
oh yeah. Well, I mean,
That's what
they've
I'm
been
getting
doing
at.
that for decades
I
now.
know, because we were there before as millennials, and they're going to copy pasta a lot of the stuff they did to us, and then try to cascade that on down the line, and that's fucking horrible and dehumanizing all the way through. Which is why a lot of us are spending time in things like this and having these conversations, like effectively dead horses, man. We're beating dead horses every day.
There's a funny story here that I want to share.
Okay.
Um,
Do we need to go
and
to the document, or do you want to just spit it a cappella?
I'll spit it a cappella.
All right, you got the stage.
This is a funny story concerning dead horses.
Okay. Oh boy,
So
this is a wait. This is an actual quote that came out of your mouth.
yes,
This is a funny story about
this is
dead
dead
horses.
horses.
This is gonna be the fucking theme to this show.
Well, it revolves around dead horses in gaming, but it is a dead horses story.
Wow.
So I want to say a couple years ago, me and Brian, you bet, we were playing a game on Steam, Vermintide,
Oh,
basically
I like
Warhammer
Vermintide. Yeah,
Fantasy.
yeah.
Kind of, it was built in the, I'm going to say, homage to like Left 4 Dead,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. Instead, you have, Skaven and rat people,
Yeah,
instead of zombies.
yeah.
Well, they'd come out with a new expansion where they had like put new weapons in, and I had gotten it, bought a copy for Brian, and where we're kind of doing a playthrough,
Uh-huh.
and much like Left 4 Dead, there's kind of a director in the game. So, oh hey, things have been okay for now. We've killed a couple of Skaven, and then a horde pops up out of nowhere.
Okay.
In Vermintide, kind of like in Left 4 Dead, there would basically be spawn points, for the Skaven to come out. And some of those spawn points would be in the hold because they're rat people. They burrow. I guess they enslave them.
As rat people
I don't
do.
know. As rat people do.
Yeah.
Well, we're doing this, and we're kind of exploring because it was outside. We just started playing, and we had fought off this horde, and I was like looking at this barn, and I realized Brian was like hunched over and just swinging, and all I'm thinking is like, oh shit, there's still a horde coming, and I missed it. I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, what are you talking about? And I walk over, and Brian is literally sitting there with this character beating a dead fucking horse. and these are the words that come out of my mouth. Oh, you're not in trouble, you're just beating a dead. God damn it, Brian.
That is my feel-good moment of the day, easily.
It was a beautiful thing, but I mean, some people look at beating a dead horse as like nothing is going to get done.
Right.
And I'm like, to a degree, you're right, but I think beating a dead horse also reconfirms to the people talking about it. Okay, these are still problems, right?
Uh-huh.
This isn't just in my head.
Uh-huh.
Have these things gotten worse? Have they actually gotten better?
Right. Is this dead horse now in the well, therefore poisoning the entire village?
Exactly.
I think that's an important question.
Exactly. Or, has the dead horse, like, grown wings or ascended to heaven somehow?
Or has the dead horse been brought back to life by the Lich King?
This is also an important question.
That's happened.
Has the alt-right somehow co-opted the dead horse?
That's true. Does that horse now know how to whistle Dixie? These are those questions.
Exactly. So, I mean, to, I guess, go back, or to address the topic of, I guess, which may be a podcast or just us screaming into the void. I don't know. Well, both. Either of those are mutually exclusive. Is, beating a dead horse does have its negative connotations, but that doesn't mean it just stops there.
Mm-hmm.
There are other aspects to this.
Oh yeah.
And part of it is, like we were talking about music. We should do that one, and we may do that today once we get done with this.
Yeah.
You come at it from an entirely different angle than I do.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with everything else, just because your experiences are different than mine.
Right, and same in the inverse.
No,
yeah.
Exactly. So it's always good to compare notes. Say, hey, did you see this, or what do you think about that?
Or like, how did it reach your ears? What were you going through? What were you thinking at the time? Were you chewing on a mango? Was there breakfast cereal involved? Was there a dead horse staring at you through the windows with unflinching eyes? The important questions.
It's the important questions.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how to work a goddamn it, Nell, pay for your wings.
What we need to do, so part of why I have this document open too is so we can kind of explain to people that conversation we had before this, to like do the entire roundtable thing, call out those different characters, and we're essentially describing different points of views and personas. So Nell is the dude that doesn't pay for the wings at the end of the night when you've been hanging out with your boys at the pub watching football all afternoon/morning. And he's trying to get other people to pay for his wings because y'all shared a tab, and he's like, nah, it's somebody else's. It wasn't just me that ate these wings. No, Nell, pay for your fucking wings.
Exactly.
We didn't ask you to buy 6, 7, 8 rounds of wings, and you ate most of them for what it's worth. Bone boy.
Exactly. And so, what should have been a 2, maybe 3 hour, stay at the pub is now turned into a 6 hour, fucking 6 hour, wow. Scrum, I guess, would be the right word.
Yeah. That works.
The last 3 hours have been you trying to convince Nell that no, you ordered the fucking wings.
Yeah.
You need to pay for it.
I mean, you're still
refusing.
Yeah, like he's still our mate and all, but goddamn, like Everton, it sucks first off. But Everton and Liverpool, that match has long since passed. We're here now watching Serie A Italia, which I hate, but that aside. yeah, like we should already be out of the pub. We should be back to our lives doing things, but we're here arguing over this bill because Nell doesn't want to pay for these wings that he obviously bought and ate the great majority of, and he's trying to edge us out with the weakest of arguments to try to make us pay for his wings effectively.
Exactly, and we all know he's guilty. We
Oh
saw him
yeah.
eat the wings. His
Oh
fucking
yeah. This
wings
is
were
not the
taken
first time,
from
Nell.
the
This is not the
boss.
first time.
Exactly. I'm like, look, man, I got no problem like chipping in, but you just ordered 7 fucking rounds of wings.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And if this relationship is going to work long term, now what we need to do is work out some understanding so that when we get back to the pub next time to watch the Chelsea match or whatever, we have to have ground rules, because without standards, this is not a place for man, animal, or any other mythical creature to be.
Exactly. And
This
I mean,
is beating the dead horse.
I'm like, Nell, if I have to next time before we come to the goddamn pub, I will make sure that they will not allow you to order any fucking wings.
Mm-hmm. We'll have to cut you off.
Exactly. If I got to treat you like a child, I will do so.
But I would rather treat you as an adult, have these conversations, and have open communication and understanding beforehand, so you're not trying to slip me the wing.
Exactly. Now, you realize if we ever end up meeting somebody named Nell, that this is where
I'm under attack. Listen, Nell, we have 20 episodes dedicated just to this moment.
exactly, 20 episodes. We know what kind of person you really are.
We know. We've talked about it from every single angle. We've beat every last vestige of this dead horse.
Exactly. You know every weak argument. We know what you're going to say before you even say it.
We know your straw men. We know your straw women. We know your straw horses. We know, Nell.
Your straw family, everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean do we want to just like kind of keep like meandering on, or do we actually want to start talking about music and
Oh, you can do whatever you want. Like this is definitely open forum for you, because I can like just put a quarter and I'll just keep on going. Either way, man. But I want you to have like that. That's why I'm saying like the agenda document,
okay,
like whatever you want. Because I was having a little side rant about the function of fascism. Kind of dry material, but there's a lot to it, since there's a lot of objective ends, and my entire regardless of intent thing comes into play there too. But music is a lot more fun to talk about.
Yes, it is. Okay, so where exactly is the document?
Check your inbox. You should see an invite to a folder on Drive,
Okay.
and there is currently only one document in that Drive folder. I'm assuming you're on a computer.
Yes, I am.
Okay, cool.
Oh no, that is Let me double check. Oh, there it is. Okay, I'm now on there. Dead Horse Agenda.
Dead Horse's Agenda. It's exactly what you think it is.
Number of billionaires, number of millionaires, the rest of us.
Yep. A hierarchy of wealth.
Yes. And I'm actually really curious to see how that changes after this pandemic is over. Maybe
I know,
next-
right? Yeah. 'Cause the video I'm referencing is a little bit over a year old now, and it's going to be interesting to see how that changes, because they mention by name Bolsonaro in particular, and a lot's changed since last February for Bolsonaro.
Yes, a lot has changed.
Oh, yeah.
He may or may not have actually contracted COVID, because who the fuck knows at this point?
No, he did, as far as we can tell. Whether or not he makes it through that particular infection is, well, still up in the air.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to wish ill on anybody. That's the one thing that I don't really want to do.
Mm-hmm.
There's enough bad blood in the world to last a lifetime.
Right. Well, and also if we do that, we rob ourselves of an opportunity, because if we do it before he's actually a dead horse, we're going to run out of content.
This is true.
Yeah.
But after he's dead,
I mean, he's fucking fair game then. He's fresh meat on the table.
we're establishing rules. Gotcha.
We are.
Oh, no, as far as music goes, you definitely come at it from I want to say, to a degree, a more academic place than I do.
Well, that's because I think about things exhaustively.
Well, you think about things exhaustively, but you've also had, connections with the music industry.
Oh yeah, I mean, being in Austin doesn't hurt, but yeah, even before that, I mean, I've known musicians. I've seen some go to jail, spent time with different ones, done flyer party stuff, and other things like that. Um, so yeah, yeah,
Well,
stuff
I
and
think going
things.
to jail is just like required of a musician these days, isn't
There's
it?
nothing more punk rock than going to jail, right?
Ask Pussy Riot. I'm just saying.
Shit. Ugh. Damn. Yeah. Oh boy, that's pretty grim. But yeah, they're. Oh man, I haven't thought about them in a minute. But that's also kind of sad. We should probably talk about them later on too. But feel free. It's
Oh
it's your agenda.
no, no, no. It's well. I mean, I don't want to say it's my agenda, but I mean,
No,
it's
no,
this
it's your
idea
agenda.
of
Because like, I'll have episodes that are my agendas, dude, and they're gonna go fucking off the rails real fast. But
well,
I don't want to start there.
I don't know that I'm necessarily prepared to make this my agenda, but it was this idea of obviously music has changed, and music like every art form changes.
Oh yeah.
That's what art does.
Oh yeah.
But art, when it's actually subjected to control of capitalism, doesn't change organically the way I think it should or it has in the past.
Well, it becomes forced because the marketers are trying to hit a target demographic, and they're trying to make genres a thing in situations where it becomes less and less intuitive.
Yeah, when you're trying to hit a genre, so all your teenage girl bands need to sound the same.
Mm-hmm.
All your boy bands have to sound this specific way, look a
Right.
specific way.
Right.
It's I don't know a whole lot about K-pop, but I know like the basically the meat grinder that basically spits out those groups.
Yeah, the factory
And
method that they go
yeah,
through.
the factory
Yeah.
method. And there's part of me that goes, I mean, I'm kind of curious why they haven't done that in the U.S.
Oh, they
quite
have they
yet.
have, but just never at that level. Not with
Yeah,
that with
exactly.
that level of intent. Because it's interesting about K-pop in particular because in Southeast Asia there are two countries that kind of stand apart from the experiences of other Southeast Asian countries. One is the Philippines, my home country, and the other is South Korea. What they have in common is that they both had a lot of intimacy and interactions with the American Empire, as it were. And
Hmm.
they're the only two countries in Southeast Asia that have a large amount of Christians in them, along with the other local religions and belief systems. So, when you look at how Philippine and South Korean societies work, they are more similar to American society than Americans might realize.
Okay, that does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, when you think about the Christianity part, yeah, I mean that does make sense
Yeah,
too.
that's one of the big indicators that's like, hey, why are only these two places that way? Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
although I will say that us, I'm not going to say bringing Christianity, although I mean that's the fair way to put it.
Right.
Um, it doesn't always work as far as them being amenable to I guess integration with the U.S.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It
I think
helps.
there's definitely differences because like I think about like how Christianity has shifted and molded in different places. Like when you look at how religion is alive in Louisiana in different ways, where it's kind of a mix between what was there before and then the Christianity that's kind of painted over the top of it. It's this odd mishmash of beliefs and sanctuaria and everything else.
Yeah, it was enough to add spice to what they were already doing.
Especially in the
You know,
case of Louisiana. Oh boy,
yes.
let me tell you what. Some good stuff though. But I don't want to derail on the idea of music, so I'm going to shut up for a second and let you rant.
Oh no, no, it was just it's interesting watching or listening to clips, and I some of these clips that I need to try to go back and find, but some of them I went down such a deep dark hole I don't know that I'd be able to because I don't remember how I started or where I ended
Well,
up.
that's fine. Well, that's where this document's going to come in handy, so you can capture those things, get them here. Like between the
Yeah,
conversations we have on Discord and this document, we'll have that ever evolving agenda of little touch points and vocabularies and nellisms we can come back to and talk about over time.
Nellisms, I like that. I want to name my boat Nellism.
That'll be the inside joke. But the good thing about inside jokes is that for people that get it, oh, they get it.
Exactly. Um, so in some of these videos I watched, a long time ago, like when I still worked my midnight job because I
Hmm.
needed something to listen to.
Yeah.
So like one of the videos I remember watching was an interview with Talib Kweli,
Hmm.
and he was basically talking about they were talking about his like genre of music. This kind of, there are these problems.
Mm-hmm.
This is how these problems started. This is this is how we combat it. But it's not just that. It's also about these people. People in the movements trying to make things better.
Yeah.
This
Social
kind of like,
change, social
yeah,
improvement.
social change. I think maybe the genre is called like inspirational rap. I'm not entirely sure at this point because I'm old.
Well, you probably think about conscious rap in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was in California, helping somebody with a video or something, and they were taking a break, and there's these kids who came by, and they're talking to these kids,
Mm-hmm.
and they're asking, "Hey, what kind of music are you into?" And by kids, I'm talking like teenagers, young 20s.
Yeah. Well, that's
And
still demographically kids.
yeah,
I mean,
they're still demographically kids, but I
yeah.
wanted to make sure
Yeah.
we all
Be more
understood.
precise.
And the question came up, and I mean, there's more in the interview, but one of the things that stuck with me is this question came up. They're like, "What kind of music do you guys like to listen to?" And really, it boiled down to making out, going to clubs, getting drunk, getting lit, and that
Uh huh.
really is it.
Yeah. A lot of the
And
time, yeah.
and there's part of me that goes, "Okay, here's the deal. Yes, I understand that everything is an iteration of everything else.
Yeah.
You know, there, there's a certain amount of copying, there's a certain amount of inspiration from those that came before you.
Yeah. There's a lot of patterns that repeat.
But but at a certain point, once you've heard that song enough, yeah, you can put a different beat to it, but it's the same.
Mm-hmm. The
And
spirit is still
if
the same. Yeah.
the spirit is still the same, but there's part of me that goes, it doesn't really grow. It doesn't
Right.
really
It's kind of
change.
limiting.
It is kind of limiting. And I mean, if that's all you want to listen to, that's great. I don't want to demean that, but at the same time, there's part of me that's going, unfortunately, because you people buy albums.
Mm-hmm. Well, used to buy albums. Nobody buys
Well,
albums
used to buy
anymore. But
albums.
I'll let you finish your point.
What I'm saying is because you are the consumer,
Yeah.
you actually have a stranglehold on what is and is not getting out,
Exactly.
what is and isn't getting played, and that is actually hurting music. Be whatever the fucking genre is, that's actually hurting it because it's not getting out there.
Yeah.
And that's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Music isn't supposed to be limited to some dude who's heard this cool album, a couple of times and tried to share it with his friends, and that's it. That's how far it goes.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to go a distance.
Ideally, but like there's so much segmentation these days, and this kind of goes into like what is his name, the
McDonaldization.
well, that's a part of it too, but there is one guy in particular that makes content, the punk rock MBA. I post about that every now and again on Discord, where he looks at music and art and everything else through the guise of business, and he's often critical of rock artists in particular and their inability to evolve, because a lot of things, at least a lot of the fandoms and how things work out in rock music in the US, is it's become very stagnant. So
Oh yeah.
he actually looks at how music and the music industry has evolved more so within pop music and hip hop. And he openly admits, even though his main show is called the Punk Rock MBA, day to day he ends up listening to a lot more pop, experimental pop, hip hop, and even what he referred to, I thought was hilarious, as boyfriend country. Boyfriend country music. It's just like this nice down home, really relatable stuff, because he's at the part in his life where he's a little bit older than us, but like maybe 5 years at most older than us.
Hmm.
But he's at that part in his life where he came up and he was, in the punk scene back in the day.
Hmm.
And he's always liked music, but you got to pay bills too. So he became a
Oh
graphic
yeah.
designer, did all these things. And when he looks at music now, one of the big linchpins, which is the same point you were just making, is that kids are the ones that are really defining what popular music is and how strong music is going to be going forward. And rock misses out as a total genre because they're not really engaging new fans. They're sticking into this gatekeeper mentality where Metallica is Metallica forever, and all the big four metal gods and all these other
But
degent and other sub tribes of rock, but they don't do anything to bring in new fans a lot of the time.
which I find funny because we the whole thing is Metallica did change.
Oh yeah,
They
the
went
Metallica
from
changed dramatically, but they did a lot of those changes like the
they
80s
did.
and
Yeah, no,
2000s as well.
no, yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can understand that. It is. We're kind of the gatekeepers of rock.
Hmm.
I do agree with that, but I think another part of that is also kids. If you're listening, I understand that you're trying to rebel by not listening to your parents' music because you think you're being cool and edgy.
Yeah.
Guess what? I did the same thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure my parents did the same thing, and so on and so forth, and yada yada yada.
Repeating patterns.
And
Dead horses.
well,
Dead horses.
dead horses. And the fact exactly, the fact of the matter is this is something that is well documented. There have been
Yeah.
studies on this. The whole I'm rebelling against what I see as the status quo, the man, the establishment, by rejecting everything my parents did.
Sure
Like
can choose.
blues is like viewed as dad rock now because the only people who fucking listen to it are old men, apparently.
Right.
Guys who have way past their prime, trying to relive their glory days. And trust me, I've been I've been to enough of those concerts to be like, yeah, those guys are definitely there. Um,
Well, this is the thing. I just found the video. I'm pretty sure it's Fint McKenty is his name, and it's titled "The Sad State of Rock in 2020."
yeah, I actually looked up the page.
Yeah,
And
Punk Rock MBA.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the first the first well, no, it wasn't the first. I basically brought up his homepage, or not his homepage, but
His channel?
Yeah, his channel.
Yeah.
And that was like the third or fourth video. This like
Man.
the state,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. But he's been beating that dead horse for a while now.
But the thing I remember the last time I lived in Austin and you were at Hearn's house because your house wasn't built yet, and
Yeah.
we were actually Hold on, I'm typing this in to make sure I saved it, so I'll go back.
Okay.
We were having this discussion.
Well, where are you typing it? Are you on the Dead Horses Agenda doc, or are you on
Oh no,
Discord?
I'm saving it for me so I can go back to his channel. And,
Oh,
like, watch
I
these
already
videos.
put the link on the Dead Horses Agenda, so it'll be there forever and ever, so you can hug it.
Okay, I can hug it.
You can hug it with your mouth.
I mean, yeah, I could. That's kind of scary.
Oh, don't be scared. Just let it happen.
Oh, there's going to be tears on both sides. That's all I'm
Just
gonna
feel it. Just feel it wash over you like so many dead horses.
say.
Go ahead.
I lost my train of thought. No. The idea of rock is also considered the shit that your parents listen to.
Right.
Part of it is because they're gatekeepers.
It's that boomer shit.
No, it is that boomer shit. And the thing is like, you know what? The same thing I would think about, like my parents and the stuff that they listen to.
Yeah.
It was like, well, the only people who listen to this shit is, this age group.
Right.
And that is kind of true to a degree because we are comfortable with the things we grew up with.
Yeah. We tend like it's natural for people to want to return to a state of comfort, especially in a world where everything is chaos.
Exactly. And it's nice to be surrounded by people that like the same music that you did and possibly shared the same values because you grew up during the same period.
Yeah, it's kind of like stimming. You're familiar with that term, right?
No, actually.
Okay, so people on the spectrum have different habits and patterns. Stimming is essentially stimulation, but it's meant so in like the positive sense, where if you're having problems, you can find ways to cope and calm yourself down by trying to hold on to a thought or an idea, like a clicker, a fidget spinner. That was a really big thing for a while. And you're trying to find some stimulation that'll help calm you and also help with your focus. So stimming, whether people are familiar with the term or not, is something that a lot of people do, not just people on the spectrum. That aside.
Gotcha. No, but I mean, to a degree, that's what it is. You know, it's also people trying to remember what it was like to be 20, in their 20s again.
Right. Recaptured, kind of like that Momoa video we were talking about.
Yeah.
Getting his wife's badass Mustang and bringing it back to life.
Yeah, it's this idea. So I understand that.
Yeah.
But also to a degree, rock and punk, kind of have to be honest with themselves, and go, well, you're not spouting the same messages that you used to. Because let's be honest, you're playing the same songs you have been for the last 20, 30, 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't change the fucking world, and really all you're doing this for is for a paycheck.
Yeah.
And to a degree, music is supposed to be an instrument of change,
Oftentimes it is. It can be used for that, but like any tool, no pun intended. Somewhat intended because, tool. But like without progress, it's difficult to be part of the zeitgeist when you're just the old ghost.
No, exactly. And you know what, man? I love the Rolling Stones. I really do.
Oh, yeah.
I've
got some of their stuff on vinyl, but I like vinyl in general. I'm one of those people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there's also part of me that goes, yes, you guys are putting out new albums, but at the end of the day, and you know what, the fact that Keith Richards is still
Oh
alive
my
is
god,
an
I know.
amazing thing.
If
He's
he's
a
not, like, he should just go ahead and come out of the closet as a vampire and just, I'm okay. I'll accept him. I will accept
oh,
him for who he is.
exactly,
I just want to know. I just want to know the truth.
exactly,
Because I mean,
I
we
would
can't beat that dead horse because he won't die.
exactly, I need to know, like, the secrets between him and Betty White, because I need to
Oh
know
my
how to place
god,
my bets for the last fight on this planet
dude.
between the two of them.
But
I need
there's a dark horse coming out of nowhere, and it's gonna be Jackie Chan.
This is true.
He's no
That man
spring
has
chicken
suffered.
anymore.
Well,
The battle of the dead horses,
and I'm not besmirching the Rolling Stones, but there's a part of me that goes,
or Miss White
they
because she's incredible.
exactly. Definitely not Miss White, because she has done a lot of for everything that she has ever done, in show business. To basically say, yeah, no, I'm not doing that,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just incredible.
Oh yeah.
Um, and I'm not besmirching the Rolling Stones,
Mm-hmm.
but there is a point where the music that you're putting out is more of just vanity.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
you're just going, I'm doing this, and I'm not saying the songs suck,
Right.
but at the same time, do you really need to be doing? And there are bills to be paid. I
Mm-hmm.
understand that,
Mm-hmm.
but there's part of me that wonders what that effect on music is people see this and go, well, that music is obviously for old people.
Right. They're gonna
And
immediately dismiss it because this is the boomer shit of boomer shit.
exactly, same thing with Kiss.
Yeah. Like
Although I
as
think
cool
that
as they are,
they
but
I think they finally swore that this last reunion,
oh
the
boy.
last reunion
Oh
tour, was the
boy.
last reunion tour.
Is it? Is it though?
Is
Is
it
it?
really?
Is it?
I'm
Really?
just saying.
Really?
Just hey, cocaine apparently is not cheap. That's what I hear.
Right? If we can take anything away from this interaction, let it be that.
Um. So you look at this. I remember, and this is like, I don't want to say open my eyes, but this is one of those things that, like, I guess saved music for me.
Hmm.
Um, you would either come over when you were living at Hearn's house, and we would sit there and cook, and you would basically just put on like a couple, like, one internet radio channel, and I cannot remember the name of it, but it literally was just new and different shit. It was just like, I heard this, you guys should listen to it too.
Oh yeah. Like I was super into
And
podcasts then, and I still am. So it's probably a mix of that and like different DJs that I liked.
yeah, and hearing that, and I'm like, wow, I've never heard that before.
Which I think is a fucking shame. Like people need to have an appetite to want to devour new and interesting
Well,
things.
they need an appetite, and I agree with you, but also part of it is they've got to have a venue in order to be able to do it.
Right.
Because when although that this isn't part of the discussion, but to use this as an example, number of billionaires, number of millionaires, and the rest of us, you look at those, and those are staggeringly large numbers.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
How many fucking albums, and I'm sure that somebody's done the math, but how many albums get released a year? How many EPs get released a year?
Mm-hmm.
A human
Well, and
being
also,
doesn't-
well, that's difficult. Well, yeah, because you're talking about the segmenting of one's attention.
exactly.
You only have so
There's
much
no-
capacity as a human being.
Exactly. There's
Yeah.
no way for a person to hear this or to even be aware of this.
Right. Because
know?
some of these things you're going to pick up just because of advertisements,
Exactly.
like Billie Eilish product placements and all this other stuff.
But when you're not, when you're not talking about pop culture or artists who are in the realm of pop culture at that time, they're not going to get advertised. You're not going to hear about it. So
Right. They're just
internet
underground
Exactly.
darlings. I know.
They are, and I mean, there's kind of an eye roll when you say that, and I'm not saying you.
No,
There's kind
there
of
was
an
literally an
older-
eye roll when I said that. It's on camera.
no.
It's been captured. It happened.
well,
That horse has been beat.
I saw that. And what I'm saying is yes, you did an eye roll, but there's an implied eye roll.
Oh
because
yeah.
of the term indie darling.
I mean, there's a
And how
barrel
that's-
roll, not just an
Yeah,
eye roll.
This is true.
We're going
dead
all
horse,
the way.
The dead horse
The
did
dead
a fucking
horse barrel roll. Yes.
And that's all due to the music scenes, 15, 20 years ago of guys trying to be cool. Oh, I heard this name
Right.
first.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's-
dude. Like this weird, like the internet first thing. Like I put the 1st YouTube comment. I don't give a fuck if you were the first person to put a comment on some rando's video. Die in a fire. Die in a horse fire.
In a horse fire.
Oh my god.
I hope they cut the horse open like a tauntaun, shove you in, and then set it on fire.
Yes. It smells like hipster in here. Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Roasted hipster. Flambe in horse.
So you have what unfortunately is being termed as indie darlings because they're not big names.
Right. At least not
And
yet.
really, yeah, well, or not yet. And
Yeah.
I mean, the hope is there is, although then you're afraid that once, corporate
Once the corporate
capitalism
tentacles
gets its
get
claws,
them, yeah.
it's like, what are you going to do to this thing that I love?
Well, you got to hate on them, of course. You got to follow the hashtags, and you got to find a way to cancel them because that's what the cool kids do.
Well, but, and that will get us back to another point that I will make.
Yeah.
You run into this problem of like the only way that your music is actually getting out is YouTube and internet radio.
YouTube, Spotify, all those other platforms.
Yeah,
SoundCloud,
YouTube,
like
Spotify,
SoundCloud rappers were a big thing
Yeah.
for a while.
Exactly. But unless somebody stumbles upon that, which is one of the reasons why I enjoyed Pandora, because I said, I like this song.
Mm-hmm.
Hit me with what you got.
Yeah, show me
And-
similar things.
Yeah, show me similar things, and then I'd like that, and it would show me similar things to that, and it would lead me to artists that I never would have run into because it just wasn't in the wheelhouse of what I was listening to, and there was no other way for me to find it.
Mm-hmm.
So internet radio and things of that, Spotify and whatnot, I think those are going to save music. But that music that it's saving isn't going to be as widespread as the popular bullshit is now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that's just the nature of the beast. To get back to your how we've got to hate on them now and cancel them, that's kind of punk rock's dilemma, isn't it?
Well,
dare
among
you
other
be
things,
fucking
yeah.
Successful. How dare you?
I
shut
know. That was something
I'm
Finn talked
sorry.
about too. Like this antithetical, anti-success stance that a lot of like punk DIY cultures lived and died on is like you want to be acknowledged, you want to be changed, but once you become successful, you've somehow sold out because you made money off of your art that you spent so much time and effort to make.
Yeah, I mean, you
God damn
bougie
you!
people,
God damn
you
you!
fucking bougie people. You should be happy with the fucking piss stained mattress that you've been sleeping on for the last 20 years.
Right.
How dare you sell it? And that is such a ridiculous idea.
Yeah, like he has the video. Like, I'm looking at his videos archive, and a month ago he has the one titled "What Killed Punk," which is the conversation we're having now.
Oh, so what you're saying is we're just actually rehashing shit.
No, we're beating dead horses, which is the point of this.
Fair enough. We are beating dead horses.
Yeah. It's all about beating dead horses, man. A moment of silence for dead horses. Are you watching the video or something?
No, which video is it?
What are you looking for?
I thought I was gonna look at like what killed Punk.
Oh, I can shoot that over to you. Or I'll put it on the dead horses agenda.
All right.
Let me make sure I put this on mute. All right, cool. Yeah, what killed Punk? Spoiler alert: Punk's killed Punk.
Shit, is it so? I do love who they have as their fucking poster.
The
boy.
thumbnail, yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect. The stuff you just can't make up because when you hurt yourself, no one will ever hurt you like you can.
Well, because I don't want to stop us in the middle of to watch a 20-minute video.
Right.
Or in the future, I'm going to watch it in the past. What the fuck am I thinking? I have access to a time machine.
You have
apparently.
gone quantum. You are now the
quantum.
We're talking about Schrodinger's dead horse today, the horse that is both dead and alive at the same time, because that's just how we roll on this podcast.
Exactly. I'm wondering though. I mean, using a time machine to go back into time to watch a podcast, I could probably do more responsible things with the time machine.
Maybe, but you got to have a dream, right?
Killing Hitler, saving Kennedy, any number of things. No, I'm going to go back in time and watch a podcast.
We're going to make pre-edits to the podcast so that we don't fuck it up and have to edit it in the now non-existent future.
Fair enough.
Because if we pre-edit it, that'll save us free time in the future so that we can just drink shots.
Wow, I like this idea.
That's how you do it. You got to streamline it.
So, along with the idea of punk killing punk,
Hmm.
there is this thing, and I mean, I kind of make fun of it, and it's not just punk that I make. Punk is not the only genre I make fun of.
Yeah, there's a meta point to this, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's a meta point, but it's also guys who rely, who grew up during the 70s, 80s, who are a little bit older than us,
Yeah.
who grew up during the punk music and movement,
Yeah.
and didn't just listen to it afterwards.
Well, that's a good point you make because it wasn't just music; it really was a movement.
Oh no, it was. It
Yeah.
was. I mean, you look at like
Like
everything
by all
going on.
accounts, like neither of us lived through that, but by all accounts, it was a movement.
Oh no, it definitely was.
Yeah.
It definitely was. Fuck the establishment. You look at what was going on in
Yeah.
the UK at that time.
I want to be sedated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just all this crazy shit. It was a movement.
Yeah.
But it's weird when I see guys my age or like older than me, who are still listening to that music, and it's like they haven't gotten any older, like that, and it's still relevant. It still speaks to me today, and it's like, okay, so here's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. There are a ton of songs, punk songs that I think are still fucking powerful, and
Yeah.
they're still just amazing.
Yeah, and like when
But
like to segue somewhat, ska, because that's one
Yeah.
thing we've talked about back and forth a lot. But anywho, go on.
But that meaning and what it means to me has
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah.
And I seriously have to wonder if you and an individual has changed. It's the same guys, same as MetaPoint, where you've got guys who are basically listening to the same bands that they, listened to in the 80s, and it's still the same feeling, still the same hair metal bands, same everything. They're still driving their same fucking Thunderbirds,
They're
wearing
bitching
fucking
Camaros, bitching
yeah,
Camaros,
they're
man.
bitching Camaros. They've got their mullets going, and it's like
But it's
you're
comforting.
part of
They're stimming, man. They're giving themselves a
I,
big self hug. They're stimming it out. They're feeling good. They get to be bros in
at
a
a
time where
certain
they're
point,
that's their safe space.
I'll accept that.
That's their safe space. Like it really is.
Occasionally, not when you've lived that life for the last 60 years. Okay.
Well, that's when you go from having a safe space to stimming to being Linus dragging his blanket.
Exactly. But that thing is that problem that drive of wanting to be comfortable all the time, which is also how radio stations get their audience.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit here and talk about how awesome how awesome things were back in the 80s and 90s, and like seeing chicks' boobs. You remember that? That was awesome. Woo! And literally,
Not being held accountable for being a problematic fuck. Wasn't that great?
Exactly.
You could totally make fun of the gays and it didn't even matter.
exactly. You could blame thing on the immigrants, the Mexicans. and
Yeah,
nobody got
fuck
upset
those
with
guys.
you
They're stealing
because-
your jobs.
No.
Because obviously you wanted to go into that field and pick all those strawberries yourself. That's
Exactly.
obviously how you made your millions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I've done a lot of drives across the country, especially when I was truck driving for a little bit,
Yeah.
and driving back and forth from like here in Austin and whatnot. That's a common thing with these like radio show with radio stations. This appeal to that audience who never ever left those decades.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
sure, you get some new blood in, but the problem is you're not going to get people interested in this music if they want to go to these concerts, and you still have the same people who originally listened to this music who are still wearing shirts that are way too fucking tight for them. That probably have holes in them because they're probably vintage. Let's be honest
Yeah.
here.
Real vintage.
Yeah, real vintage.
Not American Apparel vintage.
And once again, we come up with that. Well, this is just old people. This is boomer
Right.
music.
Right, right.
This is millennial music. and I
These
can't
these are the
believe
gatekeepers.
I can't believe I just said millennial music.
You just dead named your entire generation. Way to go.
But at the same time, you know what, man? I guarantee you, like, one of the reasons why I stopped listening to radio, and you've heard it and you've experienced it, is great. If I listen to an oldies station, I guarantee you that they're going to play a top of 3 Rush songs,
Oh.
1 or 2 Grateful Dead, and I know which Grateful Dead songs those are going to be, and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
They're
it's
the
too
same
predictable.
songs, and it's all because it's a formula. It's all because we're trying to basically, rub one out for these guys listening to us.
You're doing that middle of the road, middle America. You've got to have the in Japan. It's the entire Mina approach, like the big tent pole approach for things where everyone's welcome, everything's rated G for gangsta, and everybody's fine.
Yeah, and while part of me understands that, part of me goes, you're just, while you may be, you may have a large audience now, this audience is going to die.
Yeah,
You
or
know,
they're hopefully they'll take what they learned, and then you'll have reflections of that in new music, which kind of sort of exists. But I think that there's an interesting generational break in a lot of the things that are coming up now when we have all these different online platforms and people are making beats from whole cloth and not doing
Mhm.
samples. Like when I look at how hip hop has evolved, there are a lot of people that instead of trying to sample old funk albums and old R&B albums, they're making beats from whole cloth using whatever DJ tools they have available, and they're trying to do it as a reflection of where they came from, like the trap sound and all of this, all these different things that come up. But then all of those go through the internet blender and become sub or micro genres of themselves, and people want to take ownership over some abstract, and that obviously doesn't work in the long run.
Unfortunately, it doesn't,
Yeah.
because when you become a niche of a niche of a niche of a niche of a niche, you have, two people listening. One of them is Nell.
Right, and you
So
have, and then you have, unfortunately, you have things like Takashi 69 coming out at the end of that meat grinder.
yes, and it's one of those things where it's kind of funny because it's all luck of the draw.
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
comes out and who is the victor?
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
it's hard to tell what's going to float to the top. Is it going to be the cream or is it going to be dead bodies?
no,
But but
exactly.
these days, like that doesn't seem to be a distinction because nobody really cares whether you're getting fame or infamy, because people just want the attention, the clicks, the hate
It's all
likes.
it's all the same
It's all
because,
engagement.
yeah, because at the end of the day, so what if you're infamous?
Yeah,
So what if you're like the most infamous person on YouTube?
right. If
You're
you're getting
still
the
getting
most
clicks.
eyeballs, yeah. If you're getting the most
Yeah.
eyeballs, getting the most clicks, that's the dead horse that was
Look,
beaten by a lot of
reality
people.
reality TV has basically shown us that, people have no memory.
Yeah, they're
Um,
goldfish. Give them their food. Put a little poison in it. Keep them spicy.
oh, you got to keep it spicy.
Yeah.
So all of these problems are kind of like snowballing, I guess, to where, you
Nice.
know, the yes, snowballing, to throw another term in there that
There
can
you
be
go.
taken many ways.
Mm-hmm.
Um, are kind of snowballing into the point where it's like there's part of me that goes, what is the face of radio going to be in 20, 30 years? Is it
Is
all going
radio
to
even going to be a thing?
go?
You know,
Honestly, is radio going to be a thing? Do people even listen to radios in their cars anymore? I certainly don't.
kind of, sort of, but like it's weird because there's like different groups of audiences where there are some people that are radio diehards, and you probably already can see the bell curve in your mind where the further towards one side or the other you are, like the older you are, the more likely you probably are to listen to radio. But then there's people that are like long distance truck drivers who
Hmm.
listen to Sirius XM, or whatever other long range options they're going to have. But a lot of people are also shifting over to podcasts. It really has a lot to do with like what is convenient, because a lot of us just listen to stuff on our phones, podcasts, long form, especially now since we're all stuck inside, you know.
True.
But it really has a lot to do with habits and culture changes. So I think as more and more of the people that used to listen to radio die out and people like us come in and take more ownership over the media we consume, we actually care about the quality of what we're listening to, and we value relationships and real information to a certain degree, or at least something that resonates with us. We
Yeah.
might look for something more personalized, like the reason why podcasts are such a big deal now as opposed to how they were floundering around, 5, 10, 15 years ago. They're their own thing now.
Okay.
Like that's how
I
I
mean,
see it.
no, I will definitely. It's weird to see how podcasters have kind of evolved
Mm-hmm.
from it being a people wanting like a professional kind of like,
Yeah,
uh,
like a high gloss,
yeah, like a
finished
high
product.
gloss, no interruptions, no
Right, right.
to where that makes a lot of people uncomfortable, and they want to feel like they're in the room just chatting with a bunch of friends.
Yeah, yeah,
While they listen to this podcast, they want to hear goofy stories about beating dead horses
yeah,
and weird shit like that.
yeah. Like this one
Um,
time at Dead Horse Camp, all those great, beautiful vintage stories. Like
yeah,
one of the other friends, like you met at the wedding, Darren. He's got his podcast as well, and since we're all stuck at home, he has been knocking it out of the park with his podcast. Maybe we'll do a link out to his when we publish this, but like it's amazing because his stories are very genuine because it's not just a passing fad. He's from Liverpool, like that is who he is.
No,
you
I
know.
and
And which is why, like, with conversations like this, you know, the things that we talk about, the dead horses we want to beat upon, we talk about it from the perspective of, like, this is our lived experience, and we're going to beat these horses into the ground because they need to be beat.
if we don't do it, who will?
Think of the horses, kids. Think of the
Think of the
horses.
horses. No, you're thinking just looking at the, like you said, the pandemic, and we're staying at home.
Oh yeah.
Um, I mean, I will be honest. One of the few stations that I would listen to if I were like traveling,
Mm-hmm.
a long distance, which I don't really do because I mean,
Reasons.
yeah, reasons. I'm a full time student right now, so
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but there was part of me that would like to listen to NPR when they would do like classical music,
Mm-hmm.
and there's part of me that goes, "Fuck, man, I can only imagine like the hit that NPR is basically taken because who's listening to it at home now?
Well,
How many?
they do a lot of podcast stuff now too.
This is true,
Yeah, like between
and
them and PRI, they do a lot of that.
maybe that's where radio is going to go to where it's just going to transition just straight up to podcasts and just go from there.
Hmm.
It will be interesting to see, the changes in the industry, and especially because who plans for a pandemic? You know,
Well, responsible adults do until their
well,
entire department gets dissolved. But hey, that's for a different dead horse. I want to hope that it
or
doesn't become a literal dead horse, but yeah, we'll see. Hopefully,
if
in
it
less
does
than a
become a
year.
little, if that does become a little dead horse, we do need to come up with a specific fucking graphic for that one. Let
I
me tell
know,
you,
right? Like,
like COVID-19 just choking the last of the life out of that dead horse.
that's going to be a fun retrospective. I look forward to that episode where we're able to look at the aftermath of this particular era and do our retrospective on COVID-19. The Dead Horses
Yeah,
season finale. That's what
you
I
know,
want it to be.
it's one of those things where I seriously wonder about sometimes. I'm like, obviously, I don't think we're ever going to go back to the way things were because this is fresh in people's head,
Right.
in
Right.
their heads. Sorry, so it's like, how is society going to change? Are we going to be required to like shake people's hands? I hope not, because
I
I
hope
hate
not. I
fucking
never
shaking
liked that
anybody's
either.
hands.
I thought that was. Eh.
You know, I don't. I trust that you don't have a dagger in your hand trying to kill me, and if you are trying to kill me,
Right.
fuck it. I want it to be a surprise.
Yeah, that's the entire fun of it. I want to hear that little whoosh sound just before I get aggroed, and then I've got to figure out my counterattack.
Exactly.
Like WoW 1.0, it's right there. It's right
Exactly.
there.
But
Get good, punk. Get good, noobs. Get out of the bushes. Take off your cloaking. Let's do
okay,
this.
so
PvP, PvE, all of it.
there was a joke to segue from the Dead Horse music Dead Horse podcast for a second.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
There was a joke between me and Hearn where we were going to train up and just have like full on battles, and when I was living in the house.
Yeah.
And after I'd moved up to Kansas City this last time, there was one day I was at work and I looked outside, and I swear to God, there was a person who looked just like Hearn sitting down looking at me. And all I can think was, I'm like, all right, motherfucker, this is it. You were trying to get the drop on me. And it turned out not to be Hearn, and I was really upset about that.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't engage in an actual combat action. That would have went horribly. Because
Uh,
other
I,
people, if they're not playing by the rules you're playing by, that can go south really quick.
this is true. I would have let him take the first swing. I'm a gentleman. I would have stated Marquis of Queensberry rules before anything else, and then we would have gone. Um, but to go back to the music thing,
Yeah.
because we yeah, um, and we also had a discussion about this
Mm.
when you were living at the house, and I said, because I was asking specifically about rap and hip hop, and
Yeah.
I'm like, the thing is if you look at music from the 1900s in America specifically, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert on music in America, but I'm definitely not an expert on music throughout the world.
Hmm.
But you see how it evolved. And it was evolving in kind of, when you look back now in retrospect, it was kind of a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
New changes, new ways of thinking, new technologies, new cultures colliding with each other, new music.
Yeah.
And I'd asked you, I'm like, why is it to me that it seems, and I am not a expert or a thorough connoisseur when it comes to rap or hip hop. It
Mm-hmm.
was just part of me that noticed at a certain point it seemed like it had stopped evolving. Like it was like we're at this point, we're making money, meh, it's good enough, you
Let it
know.
ride.
Yeah, let it ride. And we were kind of joking about, and I had, I want to say it was DJ Crush or DJ Shadow, basically came out with that song, and the one line, "It's for the money."
Yeah, so
You
that
know,
was going back to DJ Shadow. You know, he's talking about
DJ
the
Shadow.
state of hip hop in '96. I think is the track that you're referring to, and
Yeah.
it's just his little shadow beats, and then there's that one line, "It's the money." That's exactly it, and then it fades to nothing, which is a great metaphor all in of itself.
Well, and exactly, it's this idea of, you know,
Why
then
has
you
hip
start
hop
getting
gotten
into,
stale? It's the
well,
money.
why has hip hop gotten stale? But it's also why his music, to a degree, why do the different genres get
Right,
stale?
right. The
Yes,
meta
there are
point that
innovators.
happens to so
Yeah,
many genres of music and
exactly.
creativity in general. Yeah.
It was one of the reasons why that article from Questlove and Vulture about how hip hop failed the black community,
Mm-hmm.
when he basically said this happened to rock back in the '60s.
Yeah.
It was going to change the world,
Until it
and
didn't.
until it didn't. And
Until
it
it
was
didn't.
kind of, and it's kind of that idea. I mean, music has a promise. It this idea of revolution is going to change things,
Yeah.
but it doesn't, because let's be honest. Rage Against the Machine. I love you guys. I really do. I love the messages that you put out because I think they're important. China gives a wet fart about you thinking about any of your thoughts on Tibet.
Yeah.
You having a Tibet freedom concert wasn't going to free Tibet.
No.
Now, your sponsors loved the shit out of that concert series.
Yeah,
Let me
because
tell
it
you.
was an opportunity for them to make money.
Yeah,
Because
and
capitalism, yay!
yeah, capitalism. Fuck it. We're gonna charge all these kids $25 for a bottle of water because they
Yeah.
think that their dumbasses is actually gonna, convince China. Oh, we've been doing bad things in Tibet. We should probably stop.
Well, it's kind of like, so speaking of beating dead horses, I'm going to go back to the '80s for a second. So,
Oh shit.
'80s slash '90s in hip hop in particular, you had this dichotomy between the Beastie Boys and Public Enemy. Two songs in
Okay.
particular that kind of were responses back to each other. On the Beastie Boys side, you had "Party for Your Right to Fight," and of course, you had the inverse of that via Public Enemy. And everything that Public Enemy stood for and still stands for to this day, it's very difficult to be a protest uh, beast all the time trying to push for social change, and there are people that are still trying to do that, but
Yeah.
a lot of those acts, a lot of those songs, with maybe the exception of like your Run the Jewels and other people at that level today, it's hard to sustain that energy because it's that constant vigilance thing. The constant diligence to try to enact social change becomes exhausting over time, and especially as people have a goldfish's memory about things and a goldfish's attention, these become artifacts of the past.
Oh no, very, very, very much so, and I completely agree with that. It's exhausting, and you you have this mountain that you're trying to climb, or this Goliath that you're trying to slay, and trying to take it on mano y mano, and trying to bring light to this problem and get people energized.
Oh, and I
And
want to say this quick thing too. I probably messed up the names of the songs I was referencing. "Party for Your Right to Fight" was by Public Enemy, and
yeah,
"Fight for Your Right to Party" was Beastie Boys.
Beastie Boys.
I should have
I
had a
I
drink
knew
before
I
this.
I knew I knew what you meant.
Anyway,
Correct.
this is I'm probably going to put this up without editing it too much because that's the fun of beating dead horses. But
Oh hell yeah.
continue.
Um, so you've got this problem of it's exhausting,
Yeah,
and you can only reach so many people that actually care, because at a certain point you get inundated with all these horrible things that are going on in the world.
yeah. Or people
Yeah,
are just buying your
like,
music because it's product and it sounds cool.
exactly.
Like they're not really engaging with your content in a way that you want them to, and that's the thing. You can't, regardless of intent, you can't force people to engage with your content in the way that you want them to. You can only hope
Hey,
to let that bird free, and maybe it'll land on people that are thoughtful enough to give as much of a damn about it as you did.
and the best that you can do is try and educate them.
Yeah.
And when your message has reached the amount of people that it's going to reach, what more can you do?
Like ask
You can
Tupac.
always,
Oh wait, he's dead.
well,
And kids
allegedly,
and well, yeah, yeah.
allegedly.
He's our Elvis. Yeah. So Tupac, he's dead, and of course, the thing about Biggie, especially, it sucks that there's this generation of SoundCloud rappers that don't really know what they're talking about, trying to talk down on both of them. And I know that some of these times it's kids that are making arguments in bad faith. Like they might actually like Tupac and Biggie, or they already do, or they would like them, but they actually stop to listen to them instead of just memeing their way through life. But enough finger wagging. The point I'm getting at is the young eat the old, and that's been the order of things. Kind of like when there was that remake of Fist of Legend. Oh, I liked that so much. It was so great. But there's the point. Like these things go in circles and cycles, and there will be a new version of social. Well, I guess they're just called social justice warriors now. But being woke wasn't a thing when we were in high school. It was just how things were. People tried to stay informed. They tried to give a damn about their life, their friends, their world, and their actions and words reflected their level of knowledge for good or bad.
And you also have to view this, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, boomers, yada yada, they didn't know. Same thing with, and to a degree, this is the same thing with the millennials.
Yeah.
People need to remember that we didn't have Wikipedia. We didn't, and let me state before we go any further, Wikipedia is a good place to get a start of something.
Yeah.
You should almost never ever use it as a reference point.
Read the sources that are linked on Wikipedia, then read those sources. Go to the academic stuff, like as boring and as dry as it is, or engage with content creators that lay out those facts in more approachable methods. And then do your own research too. Like you owe it to yourself to give a damn. Otherwise, you're just partying for no real reason, and you're going to grow out of it. And you're not really going to care.
But we didn't have those resources for a large part of our lives.
Yeah.
And boomers sure as hell didn't have a large part. Any kind
they
of
had radio.
Like that.
They had radio.
They
had radio.
They had radio in the library, and nobody knows how the decimal system works. It's a lie, right? I mean,
the Dewey Decimal System, a hoax confirmed only on this podcast. Dead horses.
But this idea of we weren't woke because
we were broke. We weren't woke.
Well,
we were just broke.
But it was also if NBC News doesn't broadcast.
Yeah, if the big three or the big four, if it's not on broadcast television, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, you didn't know about it. And now, shit, if you want to know about the plight of fucking, pepper farmers in fucking Java.
Or the explosions that happened in Lebanon earlier this week. Like, my God.
You get it the second it fucking happens. I remember actually seeing a clip of that before it got put up on the Discord.
Yeah, because we were talking about like stuff on Twitter. Like we saw that even before it hit headlines.
Yeah.
And my God.
And it's like, holy shit. We never had access to that almost instantaneous just transfer of, oh shit, this is going on.
Yeah.
And it's not an idea of us being lazy, and it's not an idea of older generations not caring.
Right, because that would be false attribution.
It literally was. There were a lot of things that we just did not know because it was never ever said.
Right, but like we have the capability now, and really the big question on the table is, now that we have the technology, what are we going to do with it?
Probably make memes about fucking cats.
Yeah, the boomer answer was, hey, we got the technology, let's make Viagra. I don't want everything that our generation and generations to follow us are going to do to essentially just be Viagra.
Okay, you're right. We'll make Viagra for ladies. Is that okay? Is that better? Is that
that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I'd want to hope that we give more of a fuck than that.
Rim shot, please.
Mm-hmm. That's how you beat that dead horse.
And that is the question. What do we do with this technology? I had made this comment.
Oh, dude, TikTok. Oh my God. So a lot on that.
Oh shit.
I'll let you talk about TikTok for a second. Go ahead.
Well, no, I'll let you talk about TikTok. I know what TikTok is. I get sent videos. Beyond that, I'm just like, I'm too old to be using this.
Oh.
Can I watch the videos? Yes. Am I going to make a video?
So what we have to do, what you've just confirmed for me, is we have to market this podcast through TikTok. That's going to be our grand opening. We're going to launch this shit on TikTok. Anyway, so like the thing about TikTok, and you probably heard some of these conversations as well. So the current administration, because I'm not going to say the T word, decided to effectively ban TikTok. First, First for like military assets, and then essentially for the general public, because that's how they roll. Yeah.
I was aware of that.
Well, and you also probably know about the entire thing that was happening with K-pop stands on TikTok, essentially dismantling events that the administration was trying to run by pre-purchasing or trying to pre-reserve seats at the conventions that never quite materialized. That's how you use technology in a way that is more impactful than Viagra.
That is exactly because, and the thing is it's one of those things where you can tell, and maybe I'm gonna be an asshole here.
Go ahead.
I
Dead
head
horses.
being an
Saddle up.
asshole. Dead
Saddle
horses.
up. Saddle up.
Here's the deal. You come at me with the plan that says, hey, we're going to allow people who use TikTok and other platforms to pre-reserve, reserve seats.
Uh-huh.
I kind of put my hat on that says, all right, I'm a 5-year-old and I can think of ways to blow holes in this plan in like 5 minutes.
Yep.
You can tell the age of the person who came up with that plan and didn't think it all the way through.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you they're a boomer.
Yes.
Because I would have been like, you do realize you're going to get fucking trolled on this, right? Period.
Nah, because they're not familiar with how social media works, or they don't care enough to follow through and think about it logically.
The idea that young people would get so riled up to do something like this,
well, because it's our future for one, but there's that.
They do become our future, but I'm pretty sure that the people that, not all of the people, and I'm not sure, I don't know the percentages, but I would not be surprised if you had 12-year-old kids, 13-year-old kids, 14-year-old kids doing the same thing. And the idea that they would get engaged in politics, because that's what it is.
Right. Yeah, this is a direct response to bad politics.
You're not arguing policy. You're basically saying, I recognize that there's something fucking wrong here.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm not going to go so far as to say that they are, exercising their First Amendment right, but they're exercising their First Amendment right. Oh,
well, look, as far as like these are the new punks.
Yeah, they're the ones. They are the ones
to bring out that dead horse. Like this is that punk horse coming back from the dead, saying, fuck the establishment.
You're going to go low. We'll just use a grain of rice and get you from where you don't see. To use a term that And I think that's beautiful. And the fact that they're trying to ban it, quote unquote, for security reasons is bullshit, and everyone sees through it.
Oh yeah, it's so ridiculously obvious. Like the level of predictability in things, like the idea of opening schools here in a couple of weeks, and I want to have this on record because we'll probably come back to this dead horse, and sadly some of the dead horses on that pile are going to be children, because we're going to open schools in this country, and within less than a month we're going to have news organizations trying to feign that they had no idea what was going to happen. We're talking about the fatality rates for children actively in this country, an allegedly first world country, and administrators and all the other people that have to work and live in schools with no PPE, no protection, no safeguards. To quote Geese Howard, predictable.
Yeah. And there's going to be clutching of pearls, and oh my God.
Oh yeah. How could this have ever happened? We could have never seen this happening. Who could have seen this coming? The experts. Yeah, trot out your expert to tell us the shit we already know.
And I mean, my problems with capitalism and the way that human beings buy their bullshit. We as a company are sorry. Companies aren't fucking sorry.
No.
They're not. They're incapable of being sorry.
They regret missing out on profits is what they're...
Exactly. They're upset by the fact that, you actually noticed that we killed some people.
Yeah. It's a shame that you noticed that. It really is a shame that you noticed that.
We may take a hit in our stocks. Oh man, Brad from the boardroom is not going to be able to buy that mansion for his second mistress. Oh, the tragedy.
Yeah, shock. Horror.
And no, you're right. The fact that what was it? First day in Georgia?
Yeah, the first day of school in Georgia, they couldn't go one day without someone getting COVID.
You have pictures from schools in Georgia where
and some are TikToks too.
Some of them are TikToks. And the response to that, let's actually suspend the children. Now, I'm sure that there is a rule that they have from posting photos or whatnot, but let's be honest with
Let's be real.
You're actually going after...
Cut the horse shit. Cut the horse shit.
Yeah. Cut the horse shit. You're going after people that are blowing the fucking whistle and saying, these are unsafe fucking practices.
Yeah, I never thought that the stance of, hey, let's not kill children would be a controversial one. Let's not kill children. Like,
Well, you know,
let's find out how many children we can kill before we have to close the school down. Like, I don't understand how that even comes into common parlance. How that ever becomes a topic to be discussed. Don't fucking do this.
because the current administration wants to get reelected, and everything is for that man's vanity.
Mm-hmm.
And because he has such a pull in that party, everyone else is going to follow in line, and they're going to go with the same talking points. Because at this point, your children's lives, and I'm going to say yours because I don't have
Yeah.
any, and as far as I know, you don't have any except
Yep.
for asthma. Um, they're they're political talking points now.
Yeah.
They've become pawns in a political war.
And it's
And
all these dead horses on that too. It's like, this is dead horse thinking. You know, these are
so
bad old ideas that are coming back from the grave, and somehow we're supposed to accept them as valid.
to no, exactly, to do a shout out to well, there's your problem on there. They did an episode about the King's Cross fire,
Yeah.
and Alice was making this point. He was like, "Look, we may be making jokes, and it may have been that episode, or it may have been the episode afterwards, because people were just like in the comments saying, "How could you be so heartless and laugh?"
Oh yeah, I
And,
remember that. I remember that.
and he was, and she was basically saying that, look, I honestly thought that when this happened, like, holy shit, there's going to be change. Like,
Right.
this is it. This is the
Right.
fucking
This is the
line.
moment where things are going to
This,
finally change.
and when it doesn't, you just kind of get numbed from the, wow, I guess we're going to sit by and watch all these people burn to death.
Yeah.
And then, it wasn't,
This is why we have notes.
Anderson, old man Anderson, Liam.
Yeah. Yeah.
Liam said, I thought the same thing about Sandy Hook.
Oh, I know. Fuck,
that,
man.
That this is it. That this is the moment where we finally go, all right, a school full of dead children.
Mm.
But apparently, nope, not
So
going to change.
so yeah, that's the thing. Like, so that really is a dead horse at this point. So my stupid idea of, hey, maybe we shouldn't kill children shouldn't be a controversial statement. I guess it is a very stupid dead horse of a statement, because we've already done that in a more active way. Like, because coronavirus is another abstraction. We're not literally watching children be killed and dragging dead bodies out of schools. We're letting live bodies walk into schools and then die on their own time.
Oh, exactly. And I'm sure Alex Jones will have another psychotic break or whatever he was claiming.
Yeah, he'll have a theatrical break and then make it into content.
And be like, oh no to his listeners, that, oh, these are fake, these numbers are fake, these children are
what did
dead.
they call them back then? They called them crisis performers or
Yeah,
crisis actors. No,
So,
crisis actors. I think that's what they're called.
So, parents, if you're listening and you've got children of the school age, I guess you could like get them hired as crisis performers if that's really a fucking thing. It isn't. And the fact that people would actually buy into that is a real thing, just shows you just how far that problem actually goes down that rabbit hole.
Well, it's problematic because it's Missouri thinking. So Missouri being the show me state, that's essentially pointing to the idea of, it's never real until it happens to you. Unless you can show me this dead horse and put it in front of me, and I look at the dead horse and I see that it's my child's face, I can't believe you.
Yeah.
That's why coronavirus is obviously it's a Chinese hoax. Obviously it was brought over here by one or two people and it's already gone. So I can just walk into any Piggly Wiggly I want without a mask, and I have my balls out. It doesn't even matter. I can just walk out and do whatever I want, because this is America. This is America.
Fucking America.
America.
The idea that, and man, we have really gone off topic here, and that's fine.
No, this is what dead horsing around is all about.
Yeah. The fact that we've now gone from it's not oppressing you. It's an inconvenience at best.
Right.
And the fact that you were trying to come up with these crazy wild
mental gymnastics to justify your bullshit.
I put on a mask for 5 seconds and I started getting lightheaded, and I'm like, wow. If that's actually true, you need to go to a hospital, because that's indicative of greater problems.
Yeah. Like, if furries can fuck in fursuits, you can wear a goddamn mask.
Exactly. And the fact that this has gone, basically at this point, 30-40% of the population, whatever it is now, has basically decided that being selfish is more important than the common good.
Right. Obviously.
And my way of thinking, which makes me an asshole because it's un-American,
Mm-hmm.
if you're not willing to buy into that aspect of the social contract where we all look out for the common good,
Yeah.
one of those being don't spread a fucking pandemic, don't spread a virus.
Yeah.
um, why should you be afforded any of those other protections? Why is it you get to have all the good things and then just throw out the shit you don't like some kind of fucking buffet table?
There's
Because that's what they're
there's
doing.
something about cherries and them being picked. What was
Yeah,
that again? Hmm.
you know, it that's not how society should work. Unfortunately, they're
Well,
trying to make
that's
it
how
work.
societies fail.
Exactly. That is how societies fail. And the problem is going back to that question. I wonder what things are going to look like in the future after we get out of this pandemic.
Yeah.
I purge. Um, what state are we going to be in? Much less the rest of the world. Although I think we're going to be on the worst end of it
Mm-hmm.
once we get through this. At what point are people going to maybe realize this isn't a joke, this isn't a hoax, and
Yeah.
your quote unquote personal
Well,
freedoms?
because 150,000 dead people evidently isn't enough, and again, like to reiterate and beat the dead horse on this one, we've lost more people in 4 months than we've lost in 10 years of active warfare. We've lost
Yep,
more people in 4 months than we lost in all of Vietnam.
yep.
And I'm talking
But
about the American side, obviously, because there were a lot more civilians killed. But hey, if you're talking about America, you don't worry about the collateral damage, as it were.
all collateral damage.
Yeah. It's good times. Like Sandy
No,
Hook, that was collateral damage, I guess, now too, because
no.
we're
Well,
putting children in a situation where they get to be the next round of dead horses.
it is collateral damage because it's the collateral damage to a person's Second Amendment rights. And don't get me wrong, I understand the point
I'm
of the
hyper
Second
pro
Amendment
gun, but
rights.
I'm not pro death,
Exactly, and there
dude.
is a difference.
Yeah, there's a mad
And
difference between being pro Second Amendment, which again I super am as a multiple gun owning prior Marine. I really like my guns, but I'm not a dick about it. I
unless
prefer to be
required.
I prefer to be a responsible gun owner, and in Texas
Yeah,
we have
but
problems with
see,
pigs. So,
America, we're
not
not
cops,
responsible for
pigs.
things.
Yeah, well,
We're
I'm
not we're
I
not
guess I'm no
responsible
good I
for.
guess I'm no good at that cuz like I still believe that you can't decouple rights from responsibilities.
Oh
Like
no,
if,
and
speaking of dead
I
horses, we've beat
completely
this dead
agree.
horse a bunch of times like
Yeah,
rants
the
about rights
idea
and
that
responsibilities. Yeah.
you have a you do have this right, but along with that comes a responsibility.
Mhm.
You do have the right to drive a car.
Mhm.
With that comes the responsibility of maintaining it and driving it in a
Right.
orderly fashion
And try not to kill
with the rest of
kids
the laws.
or anyone else on the road.
I don't know, man. Grand Theft Auto has taught me that running over kids is a lot of fun.
It's super fun. It is great. It is great. And I also like the part about the Second Amendment, the part about a well regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. But people like to gloss over that first little bit where it says a well regulated militia. I wish people were better at regulating themselves and whatever militia groups they might want to make, because I'm not necessarily anti militia either. I just want the people that are a part of said militias for whatever defense that they want to put up to actually care about their communities. If we had Second Amendment activists that would go out and hold classes to teach people gun safety and teach people the responsibility of what it is to be a gun owner, kind of like certain countries in Europe where their gun cultures are a lot less toxic. You know, it's not about how many rounds per minute your rifle can put down, but how good of a shot you are, whether or not you have discipline, whether or not you care and clean and take care of your weapons instead of just trying to post for the gram. That kind of matters.
I really need to get into this whole posing for the Instagram. Go with my guns.
Oh boy,
The only
yeah.
problem is if I'm like dual wielding, I can't. I don't have anything to hold the camera
Well,
with.
that's why you put the selfie stick in your mouth, and that's where the fun starts.
Do you need to take a break to go talk to Perch?
Now we'll be okay, but we should probably wrap up because we've already gone over. We're almost at an hour and a half. So
Jesus, all right. Okay, so
you
short,
got this horse. Take it
long
home.
story
Beat that horse into the
short.
ground.
Long story short, um, I really think in order for music to continue to evolve on the pace that it was, and to continue reaching people, I do think that corporations need to be wrested away from it. I don't know how to do that though, because
Mm.
capitalism. People got to eat. People got to make money.
Yeah.
Punks need to kill punk rock. I mean, that's just how this works, right?
Hmm.
Um, I mean, how would we look at back at punk if it wasn't already dead? I mean,
Yeah.
could you imagine looking at punk if it were alive right now? It'd be kind of an awkward
Man.
conversation.
That would be interesting. Like in a reality where punk rock actually did accomplish its mission. And I was thinking about this too as you were saying that. You know that the new Bill and Ted film's going to come out. Well, maybe sometime soon. But that's kind of an answer to what would have happened if Bill and Ted were held to task. Because their entire mission was to make the song that would unify the world and make it better. And
Yeah.
their world is, some pale reflection of our own, in which it's shitty-esque. I would say ours is shittier since we can't leave our houses, but I digress. The point being, if punk rock vis-a-vis music was held to account as a vehicle for social change, what would that look like?
Oh, same thing with rock in the '60s with the
Yeah, man.
you know
Woodstock and all that other stuff. With Flower
Woodstock.
Kids, Flower
Yeah,
Power.
if that culture had actually been able to impact or change anything,
Well, those Flower Kids became boomers, right?
well, they became yuppies.
Oh, did they? So those, well, actually, so no, they would have been boomers, man, because like the
Well, no,
'60s,
okay, you're
and
right.
then if they were teenagers in the '60s,
Yeah,
they
you're
would have
right.
become boomers, like
They
legit
become
boomers.
boomers,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of them basically hit that point where they realized that they weren't going to change anything because music is an amazing thing, but you're fighting against a machine that is way more powerful and has more heads.
Or as
Music,
as our generation said, you are raging against a machine.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, but the idea of like what if R&B and soul had been able to change the world back in the '60s and '70s?
A change is
Before,
gonna come.
during,
A change is gonna
well,
come, as they said.
exactly.
Yeah.
But what would the world look like had that actually been able to happen?
What would the world look like if Marvin Gaye wasn't killed by his father? If Sam Cooke wasn't killed in a hotel room? If all these great people that had amazing voices and spirits and souls weren't just murdered in mass over
Yeah,
time. Like if Tupac was still alive, I think about how hip hop would be different. If Biggie was still alive, how hip hop would be different. Because whenever, and this is the pattern, like this is the dead horse pattern here, is like whenever it seems like someone is getting to the point where they might actually be on the cusp of social change, they magically die. Epstein. Anyway, the point I'm getting at is there's a drop off point where the horse gets pushed over the cliff and you wave goodbye. Goodbye, horse. Goodbye.
and it looks up at you with
Goodbye.
those sad eyes
Yeah,
as
kind of
it
like
just
that.
plummets into the abyss.
Yeah, like that one scene from The Matrix. Not like this.
Not
Not
like
like this.
no. Yeah. You. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head
The
there.
horse on the head, you mean?
Yeah, the horse on the head is like when these artists, and I'm not just talking music artists. I'm talking painters. I'm talking writers. I'm
Yeah, like
talking
all
people.
of the artists that have
All
tried
the
to enact
artists.
social change.
When you've got people that are drivers in their field or their genre, and people are like, wow, this person is on like the cutting edge because they're pretty much defining what this movement is.
Yeah.
When they die, that movement has a tendency to basically, I don't want to say necessarily shrivel up and die, but at that person, all you have are, I hesitate to use the word copycats.
Mm. Well, you're gonna have
Although
derivatives because like
you have
the
derivatives,
the
that's a better
power the
word.
power that existed with that individual is
It's
almost like
gone.
a source. Yeah, and when
Yeah,
that person's gone, that pain, that emptiness is felt and it echoes for decades, which is why we're still talking about the Marvin Gayes and the Sam Cookes of the world.
no. Jerry Garcia, when he died, now that
Yeah.
the singer is gone, where will I go to hear the song?
Right, and
This,
we're grasping at threads to find the next, like even with the example, even though they're not dead, like the example of who's the next Public Enemy, who are these next bringers of social change, and for my 2 cents, I would have to say Run the Jewels has that for right now, but there's more I want to pick apart on that later on, so I'll save it for later.
okay, well, the next time you can do the research because I did none this time.
Well, this is our test run. This
Well,
is
this was our test run, and you just kind of threw it at me, and I'm like, fuck
yeah.
it, I would totally do that with you. You're like, all right, we're gonna do it today.
Fucking let's do it. Let's run this shit. Let's go ahead and do the dry run. But yeah, like we've got the document. We can collect our dead horses and then beat them one at a time.
Yeah, and I mean, we both know people that I think would, excuse me, love to get in on this,
Oh
and
yeah. Oh yeah.
got axes to grind along with beating dead horses.
Mm-hmm. Bring your
So
riding
yeah,
crop. Bring your saddle, and we can do this again.
definitely. All right, so I think we should close out there.
Okay. Well, you got the last word, man.
Um, wow, the last word.
Yeah. Look
I
up a
know,
quote. Do whatever you got to do.
I, you know,
You're on the
I'm,
spot.
I'm, I'm on the spot. The thing is, we brought up, Bill and Ted. Just be excellent to each other. That's really all I've got. Just be excellent to each other.
And scene.